Hello, this is the Harboring Light. I'm Mary. I give a conservative perspective about the world around me. So, introductions here. Feedback is important. Feel free to either reach out to me through email, Substack, fill up those comments on YouTube. I have a lot of listeners out there, and I appreciate all of y'all. And I just want to know that your feedback, just reach out to me. Don't be shy. Just get on in there and reach out to me. All right, so audio forms here. A list of some of them that I'm on here. Spreaker, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Deezer, just to name a few. All right, so this episode is all about do. Ah, nah. Do. Ah, nah. Do. Hey. Gotta set up the atmosphere there. It's all about MTV's House of Style. So I'm going to do this one quite differently. I'm just going to do my abridged thoughts about it. What I saw and what I, think. Then I'm going to wrap it up with first the AI generated response about it, and then some interesting facts. All right, here we go. Okay, so MTV's House of Style. So when it started out in '89, and I was really toddler there, but I really didn't pay attention too much of it. Man, I liked fashion when I was a kid, but it's one of those things you start to be more involved in it when depends on who you are and everything. But when getting my teen years and then on to my adulthood, so it wasn't still a prevalent thing when I was getting into my teen years, because it fell off in 2000, and I saw it. I saw commercials for it in passing. When I was younger in my when it was in the midst of it going on, I would say about 94, 95, so those years. And so, I grew up in an era where supermodels were a household name. You get Cindy Crawford, which is, I'm going to get to that. And so I'm going to break my thoughts up into segments here. So as you get some interludes and everything in between, so it's not like so much coming at you so much at once here. So, and Naomi Campbell, and then Christy Turlington, and you get Kate Moss, and people like that here. And to a lesser extent, Heidi Klum, and then just a lot of supermodels were very prevalent to know them by name, to where they get the aspects of seeing them as celebrities here. And so, looking from my point of view, getting in my adulthood and understanding the aspect of that's very prevalent when you get into advertising. It gives the aspect of branding a whole identity, because a new name or a niche, so to speak. Because if you have these top name models associated with your sort of brand, it gives a more of a different perspective or a different illusion, as you want to say, about what the brand entails. And then people trust that and they have more input. Now, some say that advertising don't work as well as, it's one of those things, either somebody wants it or not. But it's something to think about here. And so, after this, I'm going to get in more details about the aspect of what I think of this MTV show, House of Style. All right. And so, like I was saying, I was really watching MTV because that was the nice thing about the 90s. You could see all kinds of different. Now, I'm not saying that other periods weren't like this, but it was just really interesting. It's probably because I was living in it and I kind of understood what was going on. And, being old enough to get things, and still being a kid, but old enough to get things. And, knowing what I liked versus what I didn't like. And, at the time, I had really good bands going on, especially when the grunge era and then pop and all of this. So, I would watch the music videos, wanted to see the different music videos, anywhere from Garbage. I liked Garbage, Smashing Pumpkins, and some of Nirvana stuff. Even though Kurt Cobain had passed away by the time I was watching MTV, but then Foo Fighters, and then getting on to the 2000s with pop, particularly with NSYNC and everything. And so a show like House of Style, me watching it now and seeing it, and then, what I was saying with the aspects of supermodels, I think it gave a really nice touch with the day in the life of what actually went on. What they wanted to say, what was going on. Like, to each his own with that. There's a lot of things. As I said on Saturday on my Substack, a couple thoughts about reality TV. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that the House of Style was a reality TV show, but giving a glimpse of the fashion world. And so that goes without saying, people making their perspectives about things. And, of course, that comes with it, with the campiness and everything about, and the diva and everything about, being a supermodel. Like, I'm the center of everything. And this, that, and the other with that, pretty much the ego complex running its full course there. And so, but me watching it, what I could gather, what I could find on YouTube, and then all of that, I should have looked at Paramount Plus in retrospect, to see if it was a full, complete catalog about with MTV. Because my first search for it was through the search engine, Google. And, nothing popped up. So that's why I just said, oh, maybe there's not really YouTube. It's probably the way to go. Which is quite interesting how, when you think about the aftermath of everything and what gets streamed, what's not. It's quite interesting that a show like A House of Style wouldn't be in the greenlit category of something to be streamed, easily available to stream. Because why am I saying this? So, it hits all the tickets for the aspect of youth culture, the aspect of the what's trending versus getting plugged in essentially to what society wants and what's the turning heads in the aspects of what to wear and what to not to wear as far as fashion. But I think the reality of the situation, why this, who knows if it is just in the legality of music, and and that can be a demon in itself with the aspect of getting the rights to music to even with the aspect of 30-second clips, getting with getting past the legality of that, the fair use or free use for that. But anyway, there could be an issue about music as far as the copyright issues. Who knows? But just gathering around a theory here, it might be the point of view of that it goes against what the mainstream culture wants to push as far as the aspect of femininity, female empowerment and minorities and so forth. So why am I saying these things here? So Cindy Crawford, that was very whoever thought from the business end, from MTVs end and so forth, or if it was something she wanted to pitch or so forth. It's quite interesting how it was a unique blend and entrepreneurial blend to give a honest, I think, perspective about what the world of fashion is like, and then also to add in it was an editorial piece, a news piece is quite nice too, because it's if you're getting a live version of a magazine or an editorial piece you would read in a fashion magazine or so forth. And so also keep in point with this, put Cindy Crawford on the map. She really became a household name, and people really started to pay attention from that about her. Pay attention, and she got, I think, if I'm not mistaken, she got roles, and she was in that movie with her husband at the time, Richard. I don't think it was Richard Gere. It was someone else, not Richard Gere, but I think it was one of the Baldwin brothers. Forgive me for that. But goes without saying, she got more and more publicity, and also you got the insight of how models really think about the perspective of how they really feel about, fashion, how they really feel about their profession. And so, case in point, it's quite humorous and funny too. She did an interview, what do you think about fashion week? What do you think about the aspect of runway show modeling? I'm paraphrasing, but she would ask these kind of questions in the show. And then some would say, Kate Moss, she was really young at the time because she was like teenage or so. And then that was when she was being picked up for Calvin Klein and all this kind of stuff. And a lot of things were centered around her. So she said, it's very tiring. Some would say, Evangelista, she would say, how she didn't think that she would be a supermodel, because she said she didn't have that all-Americana look. She didn't have the little button nose. She didn't have these things. And she was very appreciative of the opportunity that she got to be a supermodel. And so, or to be a model, and she became a supermodel because she was so dedicated and she was so appreciative, and you got to see how she was very strategic and saying she just work, work, work. You do this, you do that here, but you also at the same time she made it it was very poignant for her to say that, you also give back by and showing your appreciation by doing things charitable or doing things for free for certain photographers, or also uplifting up and coming designers and so forth. And that's really respectful, and that's really admirable, and that has some morals there with that. And so you get into the aspect of other mainstream comedians and so forth, and reality TV shows, particularly the first offender. I saw that too growing up with the Tyra Banks. That show is fading my memory here, but it's particularly coming to my mind because on that show, with the Tyra Banks show, when she was that reality show with the supermodel, making them models, supermodels, what have you, it was one episode where they said, iconic models, and then it pretty much being symbolizing, or being a visual depiction of their philosophies about modeling. And so Evangelista, with her, I was saying this, I won't get out of bed for X amount of money and so forth. So that perpetuates a stereotype about these supermodels, which is, it wipes away from the aspects, I think, from what the House of Style was trying to do. They were trying to give you an honor-fold attempt at putting a face to a name, but also giving you a glimpse of, why they became so famous. And then, when you see the House of Style, you get that point, why she became so famous, because of her work ethic and all of this. Now, that goes without saying about, that personality. That's neither here nor there, but, looking at that, that's one of those things. Don't highlight the negativity. Like, see things for what it is, unfolded for what it is. And maybe that's the idea and the reason behind I was saying why this show isn't availably streamed, because it set against the ideas of oppression, as they want to say now, that women are so oppressed they can't get their leg up, or minorities are so oppressed they can't get their leg up. It's all woe is me. It wasn't really doing that at all. For instance, you saw the business ethics that Cindy Crawford had, and Chrissy Turlington, and all these kind of people. Even it was showing Tyra Banks too, and she was really young at that time when they were doing House of Style. You saw these women taking fold, being business savvy in the way they wanted to go as far as their careers in fashion. And so you also got the aspect and the understanding of, different. It didn't always center around just, fashion shows stuff, centered around art and all kinds of different things that's connected with fashion, you could say, and so forth. So, for instance, Yaya House, there was this particular artist that came out of New Orleans at that time, and these really bold, really that goes with the style of that was going on in the late 80s, early 90s, with visually popping more, taking pop art to the next level with things. And then the yaya of artistry, they went there. They were all African American boys and young people, boys and girls here, and they stressed that it was important to keep a good scholarly GPA and to stay in school. And, if you want a scholarship, if you want to continue this out. But it was also prevalent to understand that when you create something, you create furniture, or what the furniture they created, make it sellable. So they understood the importance of focusing in on what's good versus not good, and, not just wasting away their talent. And that's quite interesting. And so that's something to think about with this show. All right, so I'm going to give some more thoughts. Here we go. Okay, so morning, my children are up. So and they're still on vacation. So when you hear tablet noise in the background, that's them. All right, so the segment that I'm going to focus in here on, my thoughts about doing that well with humor and music. So it was great to see the humor side of a show like this with the House of Style, because it's easily to get, they could have took the route of it being pretentious and really, being hype up the ante with dramatic and everything else, but they didn't. They did a light approach, so to speak, with it being, in the aspect of editorial, like an editorial piece or news piece, but it was lighthearted. It was just as if a friend is taking you, or, you're going out with pals or something, something like that, and giving you the ins and outs about everything. And so it was good that, for instance, Michael Hutchins, the rest his soul, of the lead frontman from NXS, him and the guy, lead singer from B-52s, and other prominent people in the music industry that were really popular at the time, that you were interviewing them and telling them their take about fashion. And it was quite interesting. Michael Hutchins had that take about fashion. A runway show is in the aspect of, can you imagine, all these women getting ready for a dinner party chaos. And that's quite funny, And then the aspect of giving the how it can be over the top, with when you're talking about the aspect of the preparation and everything else, and the inside point of view about everything that goes on with fashion and the runway part of it. And it was even interesting enough with she's so funny, the British comedian, I don't know why it's fell in my mind. Hold on just a second. She had her own show, and it's one of those things that, you see her face. I think Tracy Ullman. But let me... Hold on just a minute. Just double check Ullman. Yeah, Tracy Ullman. And having her, being interviewed and being talked about her aspect of fashion was quite an interesting comic relief, but, at the same time, it brings light to, again, the over the top and the... Hold on just a minute. There's Thirsty right here, baby. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. I'm back. And, about, again, I think it just centered back around that, having what she did, a take of, calling Cindy Crawford, out of her name, but being playful about it. And it just really, I think it was just a take to say, not to take yourself too seriously or take fashion too seriously, what you're doing. And then Cindy Crawford was a good sport about it, and that says a lot on her too. And so, they did cover and showcase different designers from across the globe, and you so to speak, with fashion shows where they were being bold, outrageous, and, doing things for the sake of fashion show, for the sake of things. But it's one of those things that, it, elevates I guess, the whimsical or to get butts in a seat to be at the fashion show, so to speak. Get people talking about, oh, wow, that designer, what will they do next, or something like that. And then, it's quite interesting, and in learning about different designers. And then, I worked at a luxury fashion boutique, and, getting different perspectives, and, saying that, they're differentiating. I particularly go camp for runway shows, but versus, what my wear is in the department stores or so forth is quite different. And that's an interesting take too, to think about with the aspect of runway shows versus in reality what they actually display in stores and so forth. So going back to the musical aspect, I think it was really good aspect of, especially, it goes without saying that it's on MTV, but music and fashion goes hand to hand, and it's one of those things that's very prevalent to understand because it sets the trend. They both set trends. They both set standards, and they stand. What I mean by that, by the standards of what people think about in a certain society, and the fact of the matter of musicians, well-known musicians, giving their take. They, for instance, they had rap artists on there, some rap artists on there, and then most commercial that was Queen Latifah, and then, if I'm not mistaken, LL Cool J was on there, and so forth. Giving thoughts about this, their take about fashion. It gives a more clue of an insight of how they set trends with what the culture is saying about themselves or thinking about themselves. And it's quite interesting enough. So even Cindy Crawford, and it was a retrospective show where it was the 5-year mark of how long the show has ran. And she brought up a really important point to say, is it, music stealing are being influenced and with fashion stealing ideas, or is fashion stealing ideas from music. So they did a segment where they showed the rap music and how they're dressing and wearing, and then all these different things goes to the point of bringing awareness to the culture. Or rap culture is supposed to be flash in the pants, grandos, unabridged, pretty much stuff like that. And so runway shows with them dressing and big jerseys, chains, and stuff like that, in order to emulate the image or the depiction of rap culture here, and all that goes with that. And then we get to grunge and pop, and grunge is supposed to be going to the counterculture, and then saying a lot about social awareness about the lives that people are living, and especially with the aspect of consumerism and the aspects of that. And that's quite interesting when depicting that in fashion, when it's predominantly, that's what it's about, consumerism. And them showing their interpretation about grunge, the grunge life, the grunge social caliber, that how it just swept the mainstream thought process about how popular, how acceptable it is to be in this lifestyle. And then in the kind of music that came out of it, the facet and the different layers of music that came out of it. Even it's quite interesting, some music was labeled grunge when it wasn't. But that goes without saying, how it resurfaced back again, how fashion and music pinpoint again to the social awareness of how people think and feel, and the philosophy within themselves and culture. And that's a good mix to understand those things. They go hand in hand, and they also translate and influence people, especially youth culture too. And I think that's a nice take that this show did. Okay, so I'll wrap up with interesting facts, and then in the show, here we go. Okay, here we go. This, of course, I will link this source for you in this episode. It's from the website complex.com. So, says that this is 10 things you didn't know about MTV's House of Style. All right, so it says Johnny Rotten of the Sex Pistols almost hosted the show. So believe it or not, Cindy Crawford wasn't the first choice to host House of Style. The show's producer, Alicia Marie Bellatini, suggested Johnny Rotten. For those of you who don't know, his real name is John Linden, and is best known as the lead singer of this punk rock band, Sex Pistols. As the story goes, MTV executive Doug Herzog told Bellatini to go back to the drawing board. So Bellatini started reading fashion magazines and found Crawford, who at the time said she was tired of modeling. Go figure. Can you imagine someone other than Crawford hosting House of Style? Says the show only had a $25,000 budget. At the time, Kurt Loder's who was MTV's main news anchor, was the one covering fashion stories. So Lauder wasn't thrilled, and eventually MTV's Tom Frestino sent out a memo saying, "What in the heck?" Putting him out here. So why do we have Kurt Lauder talking about fashion? So Alyssa Marie Bellatini, producer of the station, wrote a paragraph explaining why MTV should do a show about style. So her ideas were picked up and she was given $25,000 to work with, which wasn't a lot when you think about the aspects, and I'm adding on to this as far as for the production crew going out on, especially with the aspect of going out in the field and so forth, and the graphics and everything with that. So, given $25,000 to work with, which isn't a lot. So consider this as a reminder that you don't always need big budgets to make a successful show. Cindy Crawford worked for free during the first year. Cindy Crawford was one of the most in-demand models at the time. So when MTV's producers offered her the job and told her they didn't have any money to pay her, her agents told her it was a waste of her time. But Crawford agreed to do it anyway and work for free for the whole first year. No worries though, she'd come to make millions from the show and her modeling jobs. So the show premiered Jean Paul Gaultier's music video. Many of you know Jean Paul Gaultier as a designer, but in the late 80s he was also a singer. So House of Style, Gaultier single How to Do That was released in 89 on Fontana Records. The record would go on to be remixed as something, I'll try to pronunciate this, Out to Dot Zat. And so the photographer and videographer Jean-Baptiste Mondonto, who also directed Madonna's Justify My Love and Bjork's Violently Happy, directed the video. And if you're interested, also links some visuals of it in this source. So no subject was too risque. So House of Style was a great candidate for candid moments. So interviews with some of the best designers in the fashion industry and behind the scenes footage are here in it. But the show did a great job covering serious topics as, for instance, eating disorders, date rape, AIDS awareness, and so forth. They call these segments They call these segment causes in the show. So in an episode in 1993, supermodels Naomi Campbell, Cindy Crawford, Linda Evangelista, Christy Turlington, Lauren Hutton, and Beverly Johnson talked about the standards of beauty in the fashion industry. So body image and their frustrations with the business. And they, got into a real talk about that. So Cindy Crawford wasn't the only host. So as the saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So other models continued to host the show even after Cindy Crawford left in 1995. So Molly Sims, Rebecca Romano, Amber Valentina, Shalom Harrell, and Daisy Fuentes all took turns hosting House of Style. And that was it. In 2009, about the web series, I rephrased that again. The rapper Iggy Azalea, she did something with House of Style too. So the show was down with Wu-Tang. Quite interesting. All right. Quite interesting. The Wu-Tang Clan, was in this movie. For those who know, and for those who don't know, a little tidbit about Wu-Tang Clan being a movie called Coffee and Cigarettes. It's quite an interesting take, them poking fun at themselves, and then also, being existential with the aspect of them talking about medicinal purposes as being a medical healer and stuff like that. Is quite humorous. And if you're interested, the name of the movie is Cigarettes and Coffee. So season 10, episode 66 of MTV's House of Style may just go down in one of the biggest segments of the show's history. Why? RZA, U-God, and Capadonna were the correspondents. They took MTV to their favorite shopping destinations such as transit and camping and training camp. Plus, they showed us how to properly rock ski goggles on your head. Plus, RZA wore a Pele Pele logo windbreaker over a Pele Pele logo sweater. And this isn't aging well, but here we go with Jay-Z. He debuted Rockwear on the show. So this was in 1999. Romaine interviewed Jay-Z at the 1999 Video Music Awards and debuted his Rockwear line, which at the time was not available in stores yet. And here we go on to the show. And if those that know, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, not aging well, with the aspect of Diddy and his link with the scandal with that. So, moving on, the show was revived for one episode in 2009. So in 2009, MTV partnered with Teen Vogue to revive the show for just one episode. The segment included a breakdown of the hottest trends and a behind-the-scenes look at the debut of Justin Timberlake's clothing line, William Rast, at Fashion Week. So the show wasn't much like the other ones that you saw in the 90s, but excuse me for the pronunciation, Raffaelli hosted the special episode, and Chanel Armand was the correspondent, so that was to count for something. Showed Joan Smalls' plans to interview Kanye West, Rihanna, and Lady Gaga. So new host Joan Smalls and Carly Kloss are both and are reviewed in the fashion industry. Smalls currently holds the number one spot on models.com list of top 50 models, and Kloss is right under her. So the move makes perfect sense. We're sure they wouldn't have any problems accessing designers and celebrities like Cindy Crawford did. So they did an interview. Smalls did an interview that she said she wanted to do an interview with the likes of Kanye West, Rihanna, and Lady Gaga on the show, and MTV made it happen. All right, so this reaches the end of Harbor Life. So I'd like to know about all of you. Feel free. I'll plug everything to contact me about your aspects and what you think about fashion and music and how that correlates with this show like MTV's House of Style. All right, so this reaches the end of Harbor Light. Tune in, turn up, and absolutely take care. Bye-bye for now.